if I know my brand is good and the makeup is amazing, why would I put a filter over my face? Like, I'm going to show you what my face looks like after I sweat.
Welcome to More Than Money with your host, Ross Murray. This episode of More Than Money is brought to you by More Time Financial, a financial planning company who are on a mission to help young Australians make smarter decisions with money by providing real-life financial advice, coaching, and financial education.
Hi, I'm Nova Jane. Why do I say hi?
You can
Hi,
say
Ross.
hi. Say hello to me.
I'm Nova Jane and I'm apparently 35.
Excellent. And what do you do for a living?
I own two companies, two e-commerce brands, and I like to call myself a CEO.
And when you're going for immigration, when you're traveling?
That's self-employed.
I'm not sure how much you've listened to the podcast before, hopefully some episodes, but
I have.
You have, excellent. What I like to do is interview people that aren't following the normal 9 to 5 of get a job, go to university, get married, have kids, the normal stuff. I like to talk to people that are doing something a bit unique, either that's starting your own business, living overseas, just something a little bit different. And that's the cool thing about my job is I get to chat to a range of different people, and I realize that not everyone gets to have those conversations that I do. So that's why I like talking to people in the job, but then I thought that's why I want to get people like you on to talk about this stuff. Why I thought you'd be a good guest. One being the why not attitude, or not taking no for an answer, which is sometimes frustrating, but also interesting when we're doing work together.
Yeah, try dating me.
You have this ability of, you see something, you go after it, and it's just, okay, why not? Why
It's like an itch that I can't stop until I itch it.
That's reason number one, which I think is cool. And then secondly, the experiences that we go through from 25 to 35, 40, whichever age bracket you want to look at, all these major life events, some people experience like a few of them, a handful of them, but I feel like you've experienced quite a lot, which I think is interesting because you have a different perspective of going through all those challenges, positive, negatives, whatever you want to call them, and doing all these other cool things as well. So I think you have an interesting take on things. And then finally, the business knowledge that I think you have in there that maybe hasn't been pulled out of you entirely, just about your experience. And we've had conversations about different things, and just, you could pick it up straight up. Like you just, I just do this. And you've gone through that. You've learned so much in what you've done that I think it's important to share that, because not everyone's done that as much as you have in that space.
Yeah.
So those are the reasons why I think it would be interesting to talk to you in more detail. So first of all, what are your business statistics? How long have you been in business, and how many businesses do you currently have?
We want to get really technical. I've probably been in business since I was in year one, because I used to sell pieces of paper with stick figures drawn on it for $1, just because I wanted to go to England with my best friend's family. So I've always had the entrepreneurial kind of like pushing boundaries. How can I get what I want and not taking no for an answer kind of mind. But with owning a company name and all of that, that would be coming on to 6 years in October with Fitcover.
Awesome. Entrepreneurial side is something that I've found as an interesting, I hate the word, I don't know why.
So
I always
do I.
have, because it obviously just gets thrown around.
And I can't spell it anyways, that's why I hate it.
I get thrown around so much, but it's this thing that, especially talking to other business owners, is do you think it's something people are born with, or do you think it's something that people can learn over time?
It's not the business mind that you're born with. It's the attitude and the resilience, I think, and the not taking no for an answer kind of way of thinking in life that you're born with, that you soon learn to implement into making money. I've worked in so many jobs and I have so many qualifications, but I only ever lasted 3 months. If I was mature enough to know what I know now, I would have seen where I was going when I was in school, when I couldn't take instructions, I couldn't sit still, I couldn't do exactly what I was told all the time, and I had to try and cut corners and do it my way in some way. And if I had someone that was me back then, they would have probably been able to see the path that I was taking without realising.
So those jobs, starting with the stick figure side hustle, what other jobs have you done? What's the background?
Do you want me to be completely honest?
Sure. Comfortable?
Oh, why not? No judgment here. I used to work for free because the minute I was legally allowed to work, I just wanted to do something, and that was on Saturdays. I went to stalls at the Valley markets and I would ask them to let me sell something, and they legally couldn't pay me because I was underage. And so I would sell dried fruit and she would give me bags that I could just have for payment. And then I worked at Donut King at the Valley Markets also for free. I don't think I ate
Sorry,
donuts
just when you say in Valley Markets, this is Adelaide?
in Brisbane.
In Brisbane?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fortitude Valley Markets.
Fortitude Valley Markets.
I don't know if they have them anymore, but yeah, we used to go every weekend. So Mum would go walk around the markets and I would. So then when I became legal, I started at McDonald's, as we all do, until I got into an argument with a girl and I quit. So then that was the start of me really moving through jobs really fast. I can't really remember what I did because I was homeless for quite a while as well. So that time of my life is quite blank and I don't remember much of it. But I know that when I turned 18, I went into the paper, I found a bar job and I went for the interview and then I learnt that it was a strip club. But I still took the job because I'm like, they were paying like $25 an hour and that was huge money to me. And I felt like it was going to be a first time I was going to enter into actual money in my life in some way because we never had any money at all. I just lived off Centrelink like for a long time because I was signed over to Centrelink. And then, so I worked in the strip club behind the bar for 6 months and I like took it on real quick and all I wanted to do was work. So I would always put my hand up for shifts and they wanted me to manage it after 6 months of working there. I turned it down though because I wanted to get as far away as I could from Australia and my kind of dysfunctional family. So I just wanted to work there to save to go to Canada and America to live for 2 years. And I got to know the dancers over that time and made friends with them. And luckily for me, I never got the opportunity to judge or make my own opinion about that world because I was put in that I didn't know anything. I just wanted to work. And so I was accepting anything at that point. And then I just was lucky enough to meet some really nice people. And so I didn't see that world as being like bad or taboo or anything that was like normal to me very quickly. So then I thought, why don't I just try that overseas and make money in that way? But then I went to Canada where I had a visa and I learnt that Canada, you couldn't work in bars or dance until you were 19. So I was 18 at the time. So I came home and then I met a guy. Am I meant to be going on to the whole story here?
Share as much as you.
It's interesting. I met a cute guy on MySpace.
Of course.
And decided to fly to Adelaide and surprise him to meet him for the first time. And then we dated for 9 months and I took up dancing and for some reason, I didn't want to just dance, even though I was making insane amount of money. I had something bigger than me moving me into making sure I was still upkeeping my skills mentally and wanting to always just have some kind of hold on the normal world. And so I would always take at least 1 day a week during the day of normal work, like retail or something like that, or study. So I studied dental nursing. I got my certificate in spray tanning. Got my certificate in nail technician. I just used all of that money to get certificates for jobs so I could find out what the hell I was meant to be here for. And so I just kept doing that on the side to keep my lifestyle up and to be able to support my family also. And then I would just try anything and everything because I knew that I wasn't going to be there for a long time. But I think it pretty much saved my life, that place. Yeah, and it was the best time of my life.
So that transition from going there to launching the business, is it a couple of year time frame or was it pretty quick?
From dancing to business?
Yeah.
Dancing you can go once a month. Like it's still always there. I could go now if I wanted to. So I used to just continue doing it until I ended up moving to New Zealand. And then that's when I really got into watching business happen, not actually doing it as straight away because I had a partner he had more balls, I guess, at that time to actually just go and do it. And I got to support him on the sideline and then start to slowly flirt and get into it with him. And then it just became second nature.
So what was that? So if we think about your entrepreneurial journey, drawing stick figures and selling it for $1, what was then that next kind of business venture?
Dancing was a business venture because I was contracted. And so that was a business in itself that I had to run myself. No one could tell me when to work or whatever. I had to do all of that and I wouldn't make money unless I was there. So I already had that skill from that and that drive. And I got the thirst of money through dancing and I could see like how fast you can make it if you showed up kind of thing. So when I suppose the normal kind of business that people know of is when I was with my ex, and that was just pretty quick, and I did think about it because I just knew what I was going into in a way. And I got to meet so many people who were rolling in money, and I always took that opportunity to not, and I think that's why they really liked me, because I actually asked them about their jobs. I wanted to know what they did day to day.
Out of a genuine interest?
Out of a genuine interest, because I was just like so drawn to that kind of lifestyle, like not 9 to 5. Like, how do you create that fun life for yourself without me having to be dancing, because I don't want to do this all the time. And I got to meet some really high up people and people who were really liking talking about themselves to me. And so we would talk for hours, and I would just learn about wineries and owning concrete companies that were just making a shit ton of money and all of this sort of stuff. Like
that world, I put it like say that world, but I think like any job where the income is higher than your normal retail job. And I see a lot of people fall into the trap. I use mining as the example. I had so many people go, like friends go into mining, they stuck in this world where they're making so much money,
so stuck,
but they don't have a clear out. And then they just like, oh, I'm making money, but they spend it just quickly.
Easy come, easy go.
Yeah. And there's no clear, okay, I'm going to do this for 5 years, set myself up, and then I won't have to live the normal 9 to 5 life once I get out of there.
I'm not going to be a slave to this.
But so many of them come back and be like, oh, I've got a bit of money, and then either blow it and then have to go back. And it's just this whole thing. So I feel like that's an insight to your brain, I guess, in terms of like you spotting that opportunity of, yes, you're earning good money, but then talking to those people that are in that you're meeting.
Yeah.
And wanting to know more is that thirst for knowledge of trying to get out of them, which I have as well. As I need to know. If I meet someone like, oh, I'll do this and run the numbers, it's like something doesn't add up. I was like, what do you mean you do this? Tell me exactly how you do it or what you do. Like, I need to know the answer.
And I even got jobs from these people because I wanted to know it. And they liked me. So they were like, yeah, come be admin or whatever. And I would go work for a month for them. And I traveled Australia with one guy that I met, managing his whole chocolate and lolly stand at the Royal Shows. And it was the best. And there was nothing sinister to it at all. I've always held my head up very professional and high when it came to that industry. Like, obviously you can go into any industry, not just this kind of industry. You could be a police officer and go down the dirty path.
Sure.
And I never went down the dirty path with that. And I'm so proud of it. I don't think I would be happy to talk about it if I did. But I did it all right, and I did it really professionally and with class. Yeah.
Awesome. So if we fast forward to Fitcover, which is your main business at the moment, what was the reason for starting it?
So I kept traveling with the dancing money, and I was dealing with like my skin just breaking out. I was wearing makeup every night from dancing, and then I'd wake up and I'd go train, I'd put makeup on and I would sweat, and my skin was just, I was so embarrassed about how bad my skin was, and I just knew there was not going to be an end to this just because of the background of like my family and their skin and all that. I don't know, like I just needed the product myself, and I didn't even think, even when I was pushing boundaries back then, knowing like I had the attitude of I can do whatever I want within reason, but I didn't think I could own a makeup company, because at the end of the day I was Nova from Bracken Ridge, and we were in housing commission, and before that we were homeless, and then I was homeless again after housing commission. And to own a makeup company, okay, you've got rocks in your head, there's no way. So at least what I could do is tell somebody, and they could probably do it, and then I could sit on the background going, I told them that, they got that idea from me. But then I kept going over to America, and I would go to Sephora and I would ask the people who work there if they had anything that could cover my skin that was good ingredients, so that I wasn't like breaking out so bad. And they just looked at me with a blank face, not knowing what I was talking about. So it just was that itch, and it just started to grow and grow. And as around me life was doing its thing for me, it was showing me that anyone can do anything. Like these people I used to talk to that I was saying about in the club, I would ask them, where did they start? Because I didn't have time to talk to people that were trust fund babies. The minute you tell me that, I don't care what you have to say after that, because I just feel like that was your golden ticket. So I want to know like the story and how you got yourself out of the ground to where you are, and learn from all of that. So yeah, so I just kept flirting with the idea of talking to other people about business and all of that. And then I started to gain that, like the passion and maybe the starting to learn that I could actually do this myself and I have the right to. And then that's when I suppose that drive really started to kick in.
So had anyone in your family, people around you at that time, had anyone started their own business?
No.
As you said, you were self-employed, but you had no surrounding of that.
My dad was in my life until I was 10 and he started a business called Nashville Motorcycle Tours, and he bought a Harley Davidson from money that he got from injuring himself at work and went to markets and sold a ride around the block for $5. So I think I got it from him. And fast forward to me being 36, I've just met him again on Father's Day 2022. And I look at him, and even though he wasn't in my life for that long, I'm so much like him.
You're still selling motorcycle rides?
No, if he could, he would. But no, he's not doing that anymore.
Because this is something I find interesting. So you weren't, like, you didn't grow up with that around you, but then you threw yourself into that, and you said you just met people in that surrounding.
I knew that there was more to life than what I was seeing and living. Yep. And the attitudes that were around me all the time, there had to be more because it was so drowning, so sad. So it just felt so wrong. And maybe that's the part I was born with.
Because this is something I've talked about a lot. I've seen that whole thing of like that knowledge that knowing something's possible. And if you don't have that around you, or you don't have those influences around you, and if you don't know that it's possible to go from, as you said, Brackenridge Housing Commission to then starting to run your own business, if you haven't seen someone do that, it's hard when someone's like, anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. Oh, you see it online, anyone can do it. So, yeah, I get that. But unless you have seen it, it's hard to put it into practice. So I think having that surrounding is so important, of having those people around you to be able to show you that it's even possible. Yeah. And then as what you did was, I think, even better, where you didn't have it around you, so you forced yourself almost to have those people
I had to create it. And
yeah.
if it was in a strip club, if it was that environment that I was handed, I had to make the best situation out of that possible. Yeah. And I did. I just saw it. And plus that made me really like what I was doing, because I could have hated it very easily. But I just blocked all that crap out and really put myself and time into the parts that I enjoyed, which were those conversations.
So it's roughly 6 years ago is when you started Fitcover?
Yeah.
So what was that like? Do you remember those first kind of couple of months, first year?
Yeah. I had just had my first son. So
just to add to the complexity of
stuff,
isn't it?
Yeah. And I think when I fell pregnant and my ex was going through bankruptcy of the business that we started in New Zealand, I had to start thinking on my feet and not be relying on my partner to be always being the one that was doing and bringing in the money. And I couldn't dance because I was pregnant. So that was out the window. I'm sure there's been dances that have gone.
Yeah.
But I looked like a freaking whale, so I couldn't fool anyone. So yeah, so I think that everything just came together perfectly at the right time, because I was buying and flipping houses in New Zealand, and I had to do that on my own with a group of people. And then again found like the courage and the knowing that even I've got no idea what I'm doing, but I'm doing it and it's working. So okay, like I'm still surviving and I'm still here, and that kind of, it was successful. So by the time I got to having a baby and my ex going bankrupt, I just was like, okay, cool, now it's my turn to do something. And he was so on his knees with it all that he was just like, yeah, okay, I'll support you. Let's do it. So we started the brand with $6,000.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And did it start off as like a side thing, or was it 0 to 100, but you went, I'm starting this thing? And
I didn't have any expectation whatsoever. I honestly thought that I was just giving myself a product. And at the end of the day, I didn't have to buy makeup anymore. And so we were going to save a little bit of money. I didn't think anything of the whole, what it could be. I just thought, how do I get this product in one more person's hand? Okay, the next person. And those people were influencers. And the whole influencing space it wasn't saturated, I think, as what it is now. So people just were happy. And they weren't asking for so much money back then also. They're asking for so much money, these influencers now. So people were happy to get a product just for free to try it, and at least just tell me that it's good, so that I can feel like I've got the confidence in what I'm doing And every time someone would come back and be like, this is great stuff, then I would be like, okay, cool. Maybe we'll invest $10 a day in Facebook or whatever it is. And we just kept getting momentum from there.
And that journey from 6 years ago to now.
It's beyond what I could have imagined. And there's never any end. If I even would have sat there and thought of being here, I was talking about this the other day, there's no satisfaction of, oh, I made it. There's none of that. You're never making it. There's no end. It's just you need to learn to enjoy the process of it all. The only thing I wish is that I was more aware of things back then, because I was really only taking day by day.
So, like, for example, what?
So, like, I wasn't taking note of, like, really what was going on. And I never knew anyone was even going to ask me, how did I get here? That was wild. So I never took note of what the process was. I just did whatever felt right at the time every day. If we found out that Boxing Day was coming up 2 days and that people do sales, we're like, oh, okay, we'll quickly do a sale. We'll just go and do a 50% sale. Never looking at margins or what that would do to the brand or anything like that. We just quickly went and jumped on the bandwagon with whatever we would see online and learn the hard way or the easy way from there. And we just kept doing it that way.
And just keep learning.
Just always, I'm still freaking doing it now. It's not going to stop.
That terminology around making it, I feel, is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because you see it online. It's start an e-commerce business, open a Shopify store, $100, become a millionaire in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but they don't talk to you about all of the shit that you've got to spend in between to get there.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, the bottom line is not that amount that they're trying to tell you that you could possibly make. They're telling you the top line.
Yeah.
And it's all just sales driven for them to teach somebody something.
There's the 3 words: making it, the killing it. I forget the other one, just left my mind. But that thing, oh, you're killing it. You've got a business, you're killing it. I feel like there's that automatic thing of you tell someone you're a business owner and automatically they think you're like Bezos.
This is why it's something that I think about daily. And this is why I make my social media vulnerable and raw, because I don't want people, because I have people still just in everyday conversation, oh, you're doing so well, you are killing it, if only I could do what you're doing, all that sort of stuff. And I don't like to, I'm not trying to bring myself down, and it's not that, it's just that I am happy and I'm so grateful for so many reasons why I get to do what I'm doing now. Yeah.
It's real, like what you're sharing is real.
Yeah, but it's not so amazing.
Yeah,
either.
but that's what I mean, like that's the real part. And the other one I was thinking is like living the dream. So you live in the dream, you live in the dream. And I've spoken about this on previous episodes. Yeah, but living what dream? Because your definition of the dream is a lot different to mine.
Your definition of success
Correct.
is different to mine.
Yeah. So they're like, obviously social media plays a part in that, as everyone's like, oh, you're killing it, living the dream, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but what's your definition of success? Because the thing is, who do you define as successful, or like the most successful person? And like my definition is the person whose goal it was to do the thing they want to do.
Yeah.
If someone's goal is like, I want to live on a beach and work 1 hour a day, but they ended up build this massive company and have to manage 50 staff and they're stressed out and they hate their life. That might be someone else's definition, but it's not theirs. So it's trying to define exactly what that is.
Yeah, and I don't feel like I'm there or living the dream, because my success is different to what people would think it would be.
And I think part of that, which I had down, was that comparison game, which we've spoken about before, of constantly
I'm terrible at doing.
Comparing yourself to others. People compare themselves to you. And I feel like it's just become rampant. We spoke about this the other day, of having more staff, having a bigger office, and it's this measuring contest of, oh, how many staff do you have? The more staff you have, the business is going, you must be killing it. If you have 50 staff versus the person who has 2 staff, or if you've got a massive 3-floor office versus you work from home or you work online, who's killing it in that scenario?
But really, the person who's running the brand with no staff, I would think is killing it. But what I didn't realize that I was feeding into, that I never was aware of up until only 2-3 weeks ago, is that when someone would ask me, what do you do? Fitcover. Don't know, I haven't heard of it. How many staff do you have? It was just constant from any walk of life. That's what they would ask. It would be that sequence. And I would say 6 at that time. And when I would get that gratification or like something from them that I was doing good, what my 5-year-old would say, like 2 thumbs up, I would walk away with my ego feeling stroked. But what that would do would make me start to see business as a thing of I need to have a headquarters and I need to have levels of staff and all of this sort of stuff. And so I was driven, and you know this, I wouldn't take no for an answer for getting rid of VAs and employing people in-house. Because what I didn't realize until 3 weeks ago is I needed that so that I could tell the world that I had this many staff, so that I could get that validation that my company was doing really good. And it's all flipped on its head now, which you don't even know about, which I'll update you in this anyway, because it's perfect timing. But I've completely changed it all now, and I feel so much better.
I feel like it's just this trap, whether it's business, whether it's cars, whether it's houses. I see it all the time where people come in, I need the car, I need the house, I need this. And it's just like trying to understand that why. It's the same for business. Like if that's the goal, is to have multi-staff, then fantastic. But I feel like not enough people take the time to define that level of success. Yeah. What is your enough, and what's the minimum amount of work you need to do to have that?
Yeah. And if you want all those staff, what staff do you need? What are you wanting it to have that extra number to say you've got that? Or is it, I'm lacking in my marketing department, I don't know what I'm doing, I dream to have someone that's just so good to fit that space? Well, then that's valid.
Yeah.
But I wasn't thinking that way. I was thinking I need these people so that I knew that I was running a successful business.
Work-life balance, not being able to switch off. How do you go with that?
You hate the word entrepreneurial. I hate the word balance. I feel like there's no such thing, especially when you have kids. There's no balance. How I deal with life, with all of these moving parts, I just try and learn to say no to myself when I feel the guilt of knowing I need to attend to those emails, but I don't have the mental capacity to. And I'm learning that if I keep putting myself into work in these times where I know that I'm not feeling really good, I'm going to make a wrong decision, and I need to stop doing that. So it's best for me to leave that email and to not work at that time when I'm feeling this way than overworking myself. And I only am learning this also from literally the last post I posted when I was bawling my eyes out. So I'm only learning this now.
This is the thing I've been interesting. So you've had Fitcover for 6 years. You've got 2 kids, and you've had kids pretty much, let's say, for the whole time you've had Fitcover, and you're only learning this now, like that constant learning. And I'm sure it's not, they just said never going to stop learning.
I might contradict myself in another 5 years with this conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I feel like that's the thing that people beat themselves up about. I don't have my shit together. Like I don't have it all together.
No one. Tell me one person that has their shit together. We're just trying to do the best that we can. And the minute you really come to terms with that and you really believe, that's when all of the pressure and everything just completely just leaves your body, and you're just going to do the best that you can at that time. And that's it. That's success, and that's the freeing part of life.
I like it.
Yeah, same.
So we went Fitcover for the past 6 years, and then you thought that wasn't enough with 2 kids, so you thought you'd throw in another business in there?
The reason why, there was a lot of reasons why I wanted to do this. Personally and financially, I wanted to take the stress away. A lot of business owners have this feeling of like imposter syndrome, and I always felt like one day someone's going to uncover me and take Fitcover away from me. My ex used to tell me that I never knew what I was doing, and it always just was so ingrained in my mind. And so I felt this pressure of, if this goes for some reason, everything in my life is going and I won't be able to support my kids. And so I knew I needed to bring something else in business-wise, instead of thinking I'll find a partner who can bring in that, because I can't rely on guys. So it was just me and the boys. So I was like, okay, cool. I had that thought and I put it to the side, and I'm like, when something is meant to happen, it's going to happen. And I just opened that door for that to come in. You might hear that I'm quite spiritual in this conversation. And then I started to get this passion. It was coming from Fitcover, but girls would, some certain influencers really piss me off when they would promote a makeup brand and put a filter over it. One day I'm going to call them out by their name. I promise you I'm going to, but I don't want that shit to happen right now. I don't have the capacity for it, but it pisses me off. And it's so important with Fitcover. But if I know my brand is good and the makeup is amazing, why would I put a filter over my face? I'm going to show you what my face looks like after I sweat, because it's the whole point of my brand. And so then I was seeing more of the fakeness on social media when it was coming to that side of things. And then my eyes were starting and my mind was starting to see the bodies, the airbrushing, the filters, all that sort of shit. And then I was getting aggravated and annoyed at seeing that happen. And my body changed because my body was my money maker. It was so important. I took so much care and pride in what I look like. I got compliments every single night because of the industry I was in. But then I had kids and then things changed and I've got stretch marks and I noticed my cellulite because of social media. You don't notice your body. I didn't when I was 14 as much because we didn't have social media back then. I feel sorry for 14-year-olds now. But social media really makes you look at yourself differently. I went and got fake boobs when I was a dancer. I went and got a nose job. I went and got my ears pinned back. I did all of this stuff because I was in the back room with 50 girls just looking at all of us naked, sizing each other up, seeing who was the most prettiest and all that sort of stuff. And so it all came from that and came down to I have no choice but to like what I'm in because there's nothing I can do about it besides die and come back a different person. I've got no choice but to only feed it with good stuff and my mind needs to think that way and all that sort of stuff. So I was just seeing how people were really pulling themselves apart and hating who they were. A lot of my sisters are like that and it breaks my heart because I love them and I think they're so pretty. And I've got girlfriends who are so hot and they just don't see it and you just want to shake them. And so with G-Banger, I needed to find a business that I was extremely passionate about. You probably can hear it through me now. And so I was like, I hate G-strings because I love them, but I hate seeing lines in my clothes because I like to wear seamless activewear. I wear activewear every single day. So there was that. So I put all of these things that were aggravating me together and how can I fix this? And I came up with a seamless G-string brand. And then the stars aligned and G-Banger was there for $1,900. And I was like, this is crazy. This was meant to be.
I think us going through that process of when you found it and then we were deciding whether to buy it, it was just, do you
remember?
I do.
Yeah.
We couldn't believe that it was available.
Yeah.
That was the main thing.
And
it's the coolest name.
It was going to be called Sunday Jane because I had that name already and that Instagram secured for another brand that I was flirting with, but I didn't have passion, so it fell through. And I was like, I've already got that, so I'll probably use that. But I was telling one of my staff, we went for a walk to get coffee and she's from India. And I was telling her about my idea and I was so excited about it. And she's, what? Like she couldn't understand. I was like G-Bangers. And she just was like, what is that? What is a G-Banger? I've never heard of it in her life. And I was like, oh, and I couldn't even explain to her what G-Banger was. I just bolted home. She was left behind and I got on Namecheap, contacted you and it was there. And I was like, oh my God. And then it all just came to life from there. And now I'm seeing, not saying that they're copying me, but I'm so excited about the fact that people are just doing this anyway. Bras and things are posting at the front of their stores, girls with cellulite, with pimples on their bums, stretch marks. There's no airbrushing and that makes me so happy. So I just want to jump on that support, that bandwagon, and that's what G-Bang is doing.
I think hearing the story of obviously Fitcover and then now G-Banger, the part of the reason for the name of this podcast, More Than Money, is we talk about more than money. But the second kind of underlying reason is talking to business owners about the reason they started it. Your initial incentive was not money.
No.
It was to solve this problem that you had, trying to make a change. Yes, we can make money. That's fantastic. But that's the byproduct of solving this issue, which you said was your issue to begin with, which I feel is the best way to start a business is, as you said, I want to solve for my problem. I want to make my own makeup so I don't have to buy it, one, and then turn it into a business.
If you have a want to just make money, you're going to possibly, I do quite feel strongly about this opinion, you're going to end up not an honest, nice person because you're going to try and cut corners and you're going to end up doing things that you never thought you were going to do because you're just trying to make money. You don't make money when you start business. You've got to actually put money into it, the time, the sweat, all of that sort of stuff too. Maybe one day sell it and then you make the money. But the whole process there, and when I wanted to find that support instead of the partner, and that was that money side of it, it was more so if I sold Fitcover or it went bankrupt, I still have G-Banger to put that time and effort into to possibly one day have that work for me, but it was never an initial gain of straight away money because I'm still not making money off a G-Banger.
Yeah.
If you're going into anything with money, I've seen it right in my face for a long time, people doing that, and I've watched day in, day out how they operate, and they end up bankrupt. They end up very unhappy, very bitter, all of that sort of stuff, which I'm seeing every day. So it won't work.
The experience of starting a second business versus the first one, how has that been in terms of taking the knowledge you've had for the past 5 years before you started G-Banger? Was it a lot quicker from idea to product?
It was down to a year exactly of having the idea to launching the brand, like exactly down to the day, which was really weird. I think that I go by feeling instead of like exactly telling you an exact kind of formula and process, but the feeling was a lot easier for me to direct and manage and understand because I had gone through a lot of trial and errors with Fitcover, that I knew exactly what minimal I needed to start the brand. So I knew what I can work towards, which is having all platforms paying for ads there and paying $8,000 maybe to an influencer or whatever, but I knew that I didn't have those finances to start that. And just because I have Fitcover doesn't mean I have finances to start another brand. I have to start from scratch again. So I just knew the minimal from what the data showed me with Fitcover that I didn't know at the beginning of Fitcover. We just got lucky because of the time of social media back then. But it's not the time now. So I had to do something a little bit different.
But even just like the terminology thrown around already today is like margin, like top line revenue.
Yeah.
All those little terminologies that when like you talk, MOQs, and just spitting these names out, these words out, which most people on the street have no idea what they mean.
Yeah.
But that's just your knowledge over the past 6 years.
It wasn't 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh,
like
yeah,
over the past 6 years.
scratching my head.
Yeah,
Like,
of now knowing this. So
Yeah.
that, as you said, the process of idea to launching has been so much quicker. This kind of leads into tips for people wanting to start their own business. Ideally not a makeup brand or a G-string company, but what tips would you give? Because I'm sure everyone has ideas. There's an endless amount of
there's
ideas.
so many wasted ideas.
Wasted
like,
ideas. And
yeah.
I'm sure people talk to you all the time like, oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do this. Like, what tips or advice or suggestions would you have for people?
I think because there are so many wasted ideas, people talk themselves out of actually implementing that idea, which is so sad because the world would be so different and so more advanced if everyone really tried their really cool ideas. So my biggest tip is more of an emotional side of things than actually physically doing something. But don't talk yourself out of it. If you really feel that you're having a sleepless night because your mind is ticking over thinking about this idea and it's not going away. I'm not talking about something that comes up and goes within 24 hours. I'm talking about something that keeps coming up and keeps showing up. Don't turn it away. Just do one step at a time, one day. Okay, I'm going to just look at domain and see if this name that I just had an idea about for this idea is there. Okay, it is. All right, I'm going to back off. Tomorrow. Okay, I'll look at it again. Is it still there? One step at a time, buy the name. Sit on that for just a day. But don't try and think you need to have the idea of the name and everything else perfect in order to then go buy the name, do everything straight away. Just do one step at a time and don't talk yourself out of implementing this idea because you'll never ever lose, only because if it does end up not working out, that's just pushed you into a way better place in life because you've just learned all of those mistakes, and then you, for sure, hopefully if you learn, will implement all of that in your next idea. And you'll only grow from trying, but you are going to sit completely still and do nothing if you just keep letting these ideas fester and you do absolutely nothing about it.
It's my biggest frustration where someone's, oh, I had this idea to do whatever, business, service, what product. I was like, cool. So what have you done? They're like, oh, I spoke to someone and they said it's a bad idea because so-and-so has a water bottle company.
And who is that person?
There's lots of water bottle companies. Like I'm sure that there could be another one if it's good enough, or it's a clothing brand or whatever.
Or you just change your marketing spin in some way with the same products. Like a lot of people do it. There's a lot of the same makeup out there.
It's just like that first sign of tough work or a little bit of like discomfort. I'm out. I'm done. You just told me this. You can't sleep because you had this idea, but then 2 seconds later you're like, oh no, it seems too much hard work, too much effort. What do you even have to do some work after hours after I get home from my job? I don't want to spend an hour looking at domain name.
It's not for
It's
you.
like, yeah, okay, yeah, probably not. Maybe stay in that 9 to 5 job
Yeah.
like that you're not happy with anyway.
Yeah, it's
But
frustrating to hear.
I know e-commerce is a big one. We see online, there's so much marketing around. Start an e-commerce, start dropshipping,
Yeah.
all that shit. But what other tips would do or suggestions would you have for someone that is maybe wanting to get into the e-commerce space, not just any general, but e-commerce? What thoughts would you have?
My tip, if you've got no knowledge at all, and you're just really going into something blind, don't let anyone tell you can't do it, unless you're someone like me. And when people tell me I can't do it, I completely ramp up and
Challenge
go and do
accepted.
it. Yeah. But a lot of people just don't go and do it because they're told they can't by one person or whatever. And just go on YouTube and type in how to set up a Shopify store or how to create a Facebook ad. And just see if those kinds of things tickle your fancy and make you want to know more as well, because all of this stuff comes with e-commerce that you need to find some enjoyment out of, because it's not just owning a brand. There's not much, like it's literally knowing how to do, I don't know how to do a Facebook ad. I know if I go on YouTube and look, I'll remember and learn and all that because I've seen it done and I get other people to do it now. But there's other things that I had to learn myself on how to do, like how to set up my Dymo printer to speak to Shopify, to talk to my inventory and all of that sort of stuff. So if I still like it, even when I'm looking at that sort of stuff, then you're going on a right path, I guess. That's something that you could do. But it's more just getting your mental game strong, because entering into the business world, whether it's e-commerce, buying a freaking shop, brick and mortar or whatever, you need to have some real strength about you, because you will be knocked on your ass every single day in some way. And you have to be okay with that, because you're going into a battle and a war, and it's not going to end until maybe one day you employ people and step back, or you sell the brand.
That's not what's on Instagram. Instagram's
No, it's all bullshit.
I'm sure we could spend another whole hour talking about tips and tactics and pulling out some knowledge about all things e-commerce, which I think is an interesting topic. I think, as you said, like Google and YouTube are your best friend.
Yeah.
And I'm the same.
There's so much free stuff on
like,
there.
I know a bit, but I definitely don't know everything, but I know where to find that information.
Yeah, and then when it changes,
Yeah.
and then you're going to relearn again.
Yeah, but I think that's something definitely from that entrepreneurial side, is wanting to know. Like as I said earlier, I need to know how things work.
Yeah.
If I run into something, or if I hear something and I don't know what that means, like in a conversation or in a meeting when someone says something, I'll spend an hour on YouTube knowing not everything, but enough about it. And I informed and I know to have an informed conversation about that topic.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think it's just that want, rather than going home and watching Netflix
I know.
and watching the latest show, is there a documentary on that topic that I just spent an hour watching, and was it interesting? At least I know a little bit about that particular thing. So I think, as you said, the e-commerce space, there's so much behind the scenes that's versus I set up a new clothing brand. I took some photos of Instagram models, and then that's it. There's all that other back end stuff, as you said, the Shopify, like orders, all that stuff.
And just knowing how you actually do learn, and learning that way only, because there's plenty of things that we don't know about and we don't care for learning about, and we love to learn. So like, we love to learn the things that we are interested in. And I think everyone's like that, but maybe some people don't realize. So just trying to really get into your own head. Don't worry about everyone else, and just understand you and how you function and process and take things on, and then really just nurture that.
I think, as you said, what are those issues that you have personally, and turning that into something, turning that passion into ideally into a business. And it's something that a previous guest, Emily, said. She was like, what is the thing that you could, within a moment's notice, if someone said you've got 5 minutes and you give an hour talk on this topic with no preparation, nothing, what could you talk about for an hour with no prep? And is there something that you could make money from that?
Yeah.
Could that potentially be a business? If you're so passionate about it that you spend all your time, you look at YouTube history, you look at your Instagram page, what are the things you're already searching for? Whether that's cars, surfing, clothing, like beauty, whatever it is there something in there that you can turn
finding
into?
the problem.
We spoke about business not being solely money driven, but being the More Than Money podcast. I'm interested to talk about money.
Okay.
How is your relationship with money?
So from having no money, I didn't have a relationship with money because it wasn't in my life at all. But then jumping straight into cash and fast cash, and cash being thrown around everywhere.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Went straight into that easy come, easy go, but I was just giving it away. So I obviously had unworthy attachment to money, which I didn't know because I'm mentally maturing as I go and learning and seeing my behaviors and then looking back and assessing it. And if only I had the mindset and you in my life when I was dancing, I'd be coming to you with, I've got more money. What do I do with it?
I've got another suitcase.
You'd be like, far out. I'm going to tell all my clients to turn to dancers. Whoa, if only. But yeah, so I've struggled with money. Still to this day, like last financial year that just went, you said to me if I looked at my P&L, and I'm like, no, because I feel sick with looking at stuff like that. And you're like, well, I think you should. And I was just like, oh God, what is it bad? No, it's good. And it did make me feel good. But I just still like to try and put my head in the sand when I can. And I think that I am learning about myself a lot lately, and I'm going to nurture the good and bad of me. And I'm never going to, I might one day, but right now I still don't love money so much. But I know that there's something energetically there. And so I've employed you to deal with it for me. So it's still being nurtured, but I don't directly have to completely deal with that fully. And I get to have you help me deal with my money problem myself. And it's not a money problem of just going and spending like crazy or anything like that. It's just, it makes my stomach go up and down. It's scary. But as time goes on and when my life goes to, oh, I've got 10,000 in the cash flow. Oh, I've got 139. Or like when it's like this and I realize, well, I'm still the same health. My kids are still getting fed the same. Then I'm starting to learn that it's okay. It's just an energetic kind of thing. But I needed to know that I'm not good at it. And so I needed to employ you and I needed to accept that instead of pretending that I am and just screwing things up, not looking at my accounts for ages because I was too nervous to and all of that. So I'm getting better at it because I know you're holding me in that space that I'm not really good at. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Definitely. I think you touched on a number of things there, which is my next question was that beliefs and behaviors around money. There's so much, as you said, that stomach churning.
Yeah.
No one openly talks about money, oh, it makes me feel sick. That's not spoken about. We know that so many people, especially what I see, so many people have that attachment. I was having this conversation the other day with someone and they said, oh, I had this thing at work and they're a school teacher and it's like, oh, the parent's crying in the office. And I was like, oh yeah, that happens all the time. They're like, what do you mean? You're a financial planner? I was like, yeah. I was like, almost 90% of meetings, people are crying.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean? Like, you're a financial planner. I was like, it's money, it's emotional, it's uncomfortable, it's this taboo topic. No one knows how to deal with it.
Because we don't have everybody's bank account on a wall in front of us, we can't compare. So no one ever completely knows whether they're really doing okay. And I assure you, I know so many rich men that have no money because they are pissing it up the wall in some way. And so then you do have people with a shit ton of money that just get rid of it. So and it comes down to your relationship with money. It doesn't come down to the amount that's coming to your account every week.
100%.
It's how you're handling it.
And I suppose from your side where you said housing commission on the one end.
I had no idea.
Working in the strip clubs on the other side and seeing endless amount of money, you've seen a very broad spectrum.
Yeah.
Which I think is really good, like obviously going from one end to the other, but not too many people see that broad spectrum. A lot of people just stay in that lane of they surround like-minded people, same jobs, like same kind of lifestyle. It's the same thing around the business side. They don't see what else is out there. And that's something that I'm super fortunate about. And another reason for wanting to do more and more podcast episodes is sharing that, because the conversations that I have, the people that I get to meet, what I get to see on a day-to-day basis, I get to see the good, the bad, and everything in between.
Yeah.
But not everyone gets to see that.
Don't be fooled. You can walk past someone that you see on social media and they have, I've got a PE Nation bag and I know that you have probably seen that transaction. I still have anxiety every time I look at that bag, but I really wanted it. So don't just think when you see someone kitted out that they're feeling really healthy around money, because they could have just spent everything or they could have been gifted it and they don't actually have any money at all.
Yeah.
So you just never know about anyone's bank account. But if we did get to have a billboard of everybody's bank account there, I think we would probably be feeling a little bit better in life about money, because we would all talk about it and realize that it really does play with our emotions and it comes and goes all the time.
100%.
And then you invest in a property and all of your savings is now down to zero because it's sitting in a property. And then there's all these emotions that are going to come around that, which I'm about to experience. And it's going to be fucking scary. But I need to work on it right now to understand that money hasn't gone. It's just moved into a different kind of bank, which is a house or an apartment. And it's good to have a financial advisor to just be coaching you and holding you in that again, because it's so scary. I'm terrified to not have savings in my account because it's my backup plan and I'm not going to have it soon.
Adulting.
It is adulting.
So much fun. Much fun. I think we might leave it there. That has been awesome. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. That was fun.
Any final tips or words of wisdom for anyone listening?
I reckon at the bottom line of everything that I spoke about with you today, it's really just understanding who you are as a person so that you can create value in your life the way that you want your life to go. And that's really learning your behaviors, learning your goods and bads, and really just owning it all. I think it's more spiritual feeling kind of vibe for me than physical stuff.
I'll put links to your businesses and your multiple Instagram pages that you have at the moment.
Never change up.
But anywhere in particular that you would like people to go first to find out more about you?
Just the two brands, please. Fitcover Australia and G-Banger Australia. And it's NovaJane Fit _ the original account.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
We'll put all that in the show notes below.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.